one of the world's richest oil fields.
And there's no question that this is one of the largest oil find in Colombia.
Two oil companies with much to lose.
Que en términos generales nos estaba jodiendo.
A man who should be dead and his four would-be killers.
No hay un secreto. Recoger, matar, hijo, enterrar, desaparecer.
This is the story of how an unlikely survivor is taking on one of the world's biggest oil companies, BP.
Le cortaron la cabeza, los brazos, las piernas.
With the help of the men who were sent to kill him.
The most amazing fact was that Gilberto lived to tell the tale.
Over 500,000 people were affected by the civil war in Colombia, some of it fueled by oil money and the battle to protect a multi-million-dollar pipeline owned by Asenza, in which BP and the Colombian company Ecopetrol and other multinationals were partners. Thousands disappeared during that civil war, many from along the pipeline, as entire communities were displaced. In 2002, Gilberto Torres, a trade union leader, became one of the victims of paramilitaries paid to protect the pipeline. In an abduction he claims was ordered by the oil company Asenza, in which BP was a stakeholder.
Fue la multinacional la que pagó 100 millones de pesos por mi secuestro, mi desaparición y asesinato. Que en términos generales nos estaba jodiendo. Era obvio que ellos no querían que Gilberto Torres siguiera siendo la piedra en el zapato.
Now 13 years on from Torres' kidnapping, his lawyers will file a case in the British High Court in London, accusing BP of responsibility in the kidnapping because of its relationship with Asenza. They both deny any involvement. The Guardian has uncovered video archives from the Bogota courtroom where the assassins testified that they took orders to kill the trade union leader directly from the oil company.
This is the only case I've handled where the victim of the human rights violation actually survived and could talk about it.
BP, who built the pipeline with Asenza, say they will fight the case vigorously in London. It was 7 p.m. when union leader Gilberto Torres set off home from his work at the oil pumping station.
En el transcurso de la carretera nos cruzamos con el carro de seguridad de Asenza. Yo lo saludé, le pité. Me atravesaron la camioneta. Cuando yo volteo a ver, había un paramilitar apuntándome con una pistola. Pues me ponen esposas, me vendan y alcanzo a escuchar a uno de los paramilitares que estaban en la camioneta, tráiganlo, que es él.
His kidnappers were from the ACC, one of the most powerful and feared of the country's right-wing paramilitary brigades. Torres was thrown into the back of the Asenza security car and driven away.
Nunca llegamos a coger carretera normal, siempre fue por entre la selva, entre la llanura. Me hacen que me despoje de todo, billetera, esfero, reloj, anillos, cadena. Lo único que pedí que era que no me quitaran las gafas.
Torres represented over 400 members along the pipeline. He had organised a shutdown when another union leader, Ori Sara, had been kidnapped. Sara was found murdered 5 days later. Torres says his kidnappers made it clear to him why he had been abducted.
Él decía que era que todos los del abuso éramos unos hijos de puta guerrilleros, acabando con la economía del país, que las empresas multinacionales venían era a dar trabajo y que nosotros no los dejábamos. Estaba tocando directamente los intereses económicos de la multinacional. Evidentemente era algo que ellos no iban a seguir aguantando.
They also showed him firsthand how they do business.
Pues estos paramilitares que me tenían, capturó a un presunto guerrillero de las FARC. Lo golpearon, lo insultaron, lo escupieron, lo patearon. Ya él confiesa que sí, que él hace parte de un frente de las FARC. Ya le pegaron 2 tiros en la nuca. Le cortaron la cabeza, los brazos, las piernas y finalmente el comandante con un cuchillo, un machete, empezó a perforarle. En un momento determinado la racionalidad mía pues entendió que seguramente eso también me iba a pasar a mí. A las 5 de la mañana me levantaron, viene Chanfle y me dijo, es que hemos recibido la orden del Comando Central de hacer un hueco y de llevarlo para allá. Llegamos al hueco, que apenas me metieron, empezaron a construir una malla de alambre de púa sobre mi cabeza. Tenía heridas, entonces las hormigas empezaron a comerme las heridas. Estas hormigas rojas, pues que cada vez que cierran sus tenazas es arrancar la piel.
The Guardian has obtained the court recording of one of the guards who held Torres during his kidnap, Carlos López Garay.
El comandante Chanfle me vaciaba a veces, me decía, usted no tiene derecho a hablar mucho con él. Entonces yo hablaba con él a las escondidas. Y don Gilberto me comentó y me dijo, pues de que a él lo habían dejado era como por parte de la petrolera, por Ecopetrol, porque él me manifestó que la seguridad de Oensa lo trajo a él y se lo entregó al comandante Mosco.
The paramilitary death squads are believed to be responsible for over 200 murders and disappearances in 2002 alone, the year Torres was abducted. But Gilberto Torres was a powerful union leader. A national strike was organised to try and secure his release, with the threat to close down the pipeline again. He was released after 42 days.
Recibí una llamada y nos dijo, aliste al señor que se bañe y que tal, porque lo vamos a entregar ya.
Habían recibido una llamada Chanfle y le dijeron que había que bañar el maute porque había que llevarlo a la feria. Entonces bueno, nos fuimos al río a esa hora, me bañé y me fui a poner la pantaloneta y la camiseta y me dijo, no, vístase bien porque van a venir a hacerle una revista.
The army arranged a surreal press conference to claim credit for his release. Gilberto Torres was finally free. Terry Collingsworth is a Washington-based human rights lawyer. He has spent over 30 years building cases against international oil companies in Indonesia, Burma and Colombia.
One of the ways the companies and the government of Colombia historically have defended against these accusations is to deny it, and they know how hard it is to prove the details, to give the story life. This is the only case I've handled where the victim of the human rights violation actually survived and could talk about it.
And in Torres's case, it wasn't just the victim claiming that the oil companies had a hand in his abduction and torture. His kidnappers and torturers testified to it. They claimed in court that it was Asenza who had ordered the contract hit on the trade union leader. The court testimony of the paramilitaries, sentenced between them to over 300 years for dozens of crimes, has never been seen before in public, and reveals the extent of the relationship that the paramilitaries claimed they had with the oil companies. ACC kidnapper Arnavil Beltran Medellin explained how his unit carried out execution orders.
Las especiales se dirigían era recoger, matar, dijo enterrar, desaparecer.
¿Usted nos ha manifestado que existía alguna relación entre las petroleras y la organización paramilitar. Ahora manifieste por favor si usted conoció que existiera esta relación también con la empresa multinacional Ocensa.
Comentarios, pero no directamente no vi.
¿Qué comentarios escuchó sobre el particular?
Que la empresa aportaba para la empresa en la que yo pertenecía.
¿Aportaba cómo?
Dineros.
Then came the most compelling testimony of all, from a millionaire paramilitary commander, already serving more than 100 years for countless murders, kidnaps and extortion. Jose Dario Orjuela had been one of Torres's interrogators. He told the court that it was the Ocensa and Ecopetrol oil companies that wanted Torres dead.
De que fueron los que pidieron que ejecutáramos a este señor, no que lo secuestráramos, sino que lo tuviéramos y lo matáramos y lo desapareciéramos. Este señor mantenía haciendo mucho paro, mucho sindicato, mucha huelga.
En cuanto a la participación de personal de Ocensa y de Ecopetrol, ¿usted también confirmó que efectivamente habían colaborado?
Sí, señora juez. Si no estoy mal, eran directamente los jefes de esa estación arriba, los que manejaban todo como la estación.
¿Estación del Porvenir?
Sí, señora.
The judge then asked whether the oil companies paid the paramilitaries for protection.
Creo que esta empresa, si no estoy mal, pagaba una vacuna anual a la organización.
Ocensa has always denied making payments to the paramilitaries. But Orjuela claimed in court that the paramilitaries had charged extra for the contract killing of Torres.
¿Y cuánto era?
Pasaron los 100 millones de pesos, si no estoy mal.
But even $40,000 couldn't buy murder in the face of a media outcry.
Nos informó de que no se podía matar a este señor y desaparecer porque había mucha persecución por los medios de comunicación y la organización estaba pagando con todo el peso, pero ellos siempre creyeron de que este señor iba a ser desaparecido y muerto.
In 3 separate trials, a total of 4 men were jailed for their roles in the Torres kidnapping. One of the judges, Judge Teresa Robles Munar, issued the following statement. It can be inferred from the evidence on file that the Ocensa company was complicit in Torres's loss of freedom. Torres was, she said, threatening their economic interests. She called for an official investigation into the alleged conduct of Ocensa's directors or members at the time of these events based on the vehicle used to commit the offence. Ocensa say that they have never been indicted or prosecuted for any alleged criminal activities arising from the Torres kidnapping. Now, a small British law firm, Dayton Pearce Glynn, has this week filed a case in the High Court in London against the giant multinational BP, the British shareholder in Ocensa.
The unusual feature of Gilberto Torres' case is that the evidence linking him to Ocensa, the company in which BP had got a minority shareholding, is so strong. That's why we've brought his case forward. We're hoping that the British public will agree that BP, as a British company, needs to be brought to account.
Gilberto's case is one of countless cases where union leaders have been murdered by paramilitaries acting on behalf of private enterprises, including multinational companies. Gilberto's case might very well be the tip of the iceberg.
In Yopal, a memorial is being held for some of the thousands of victims who vanished or were murdered in this oil-rich region over the past 40 years.
And I'd like to see a case like this serve as an encouragement to shareholders to ask questions before they become investors in a company as to whether they might be buying into a company that has blood on its hands.
BP declined The Guardian's offer to be interviewed for this programme and said they will vigorously defend themselves against the allegations. They also say they were only a minority shareholder in the pipeline at the time of the abduction.
For the longest time, I couldn't look at it. I was in denial about climate change for longer than I care to admit. Told myself the science was too complex, that the environmentalists were dealing with it.